Check, 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 mic check. Is this thing on? Yup, it is. Don't worry, folks. I know some of y'all have been worried about my health, but it's okay. I'd rather spend my Canada Day indoors talking about hockey news rather than going outside and getting some sun. Quite frankly, I think it's a little bit too crowded anyway at all of the Canada Day events. But either way, take a look at the Vancouver Canucks signing that happened while I was having my beauty sleep. The Vancouver Canucks GM Patrik Allvin has announced that the club has agreed to terms with defenseman Vincent Desharnais on a 2-year contract with a $2 million AAV. As we had talked about with the Derek Forbort signing from earlier this morning, Vancouver just cannot stay away from Big D. Really? All the Big D in town. Patrik Allvin wants it. He's getting it all for himself, and he's not sharing. Let's go out there and read the Vancouver Canucks press conference here, as they have agreed to terms with Vincent Desharnais on a 2-year contract. Yep, we had just said that. We were really impressed by the strides Vincent made this year at the NHL level, Allvin said. Our team got to see firsthand how big and strong he is on the ice during our playoff series against Edmonton. The coaching staff are really looking forward to working with him this year to help him grow and improve as a hockey player. Desharnais, 28 years old, appeared in 78 games with the Oilers in 23-24, registering 11 points and 54 penalty minutes. He also had a +3 ± rating. He played in 16 playoff games for the Oilers last season, recording 1 point and 22 penalty minutes. The 6'7", 226-pound defenseman has played in 114 career regular season NHL games, all with Edmonton, recording 16 points, 85 penalty minutes, and a +18 ± rating. In 28 career playoff games, Desharnais has registered 3 points and 30 penalty minutes, while averaging 15:41 of time on ice. The Laval QC native was originally drafted by Edmonton in the 7th round, 183rd overall, in the 2016 NHL Draft. So, Vinny Desharnais, I gotta say this before we dive into the fact that the Canucks are getting a nice defenseman here. Good on Vinny Desharnais. He was drafted back in 2016, never really broke out as a full-time NHL player until 2023, and then this year, 2023-2024, he's 28, yes, so he's pretty old, but the development this guy went through was crazy. USHS Prep School League, so the Minnesota Prep School, then he was in Chilliwack for the BCHL, then he went a full 4 years with the Providence College team in the NCAA, spent some time in the ECHL before going back over to the AHL, and then was in the NHL. This guy went through the absolute ringer to find himself on an NHL contract today, making $2 million a year for the next 2 seasons. This is a crazy, crazy path, and I don't think anybody on the Canucks can match this. This is like Alex Burrows level of weirdness. Of course, though Burrows was undrafted, Desharnais was drafted in the 7th round, so there's a lot more to like here when it comes to the predictability of Desharnais. But still, 6'6", 216 pounds as listed on Elite Prospects. The Canucks website has him at 6'7", 226. So whether or not he's 6'6" or 6'7", who really cares? He's Nikita Zadorov sized. And this was a guy who, in this previous season, I had him on my fantasy team for a good chunk of the year because he blocks shots, he hits, he's really physical, and ultimately what the Canucks are going to have to do here with Desharnais is make sure that he ends up not giving the puck away as much as he did with the Edmonton Oilers. Sure, he was a good enough player to play with the team, but he was scratched some nights, so it wasn't like he was always perfect. There actually was a comment thread about this on the R Hockey subreddit. They talked about the Vinny Desharnais contract given out by Vancouver, and yeah, the Alberta to Vancouver pipeline is continuing. That's a good pickup. Probably a bit more than he's worth at $2 million a year, but he'll become a fan favorite in Vancouver like he did in Edmonton. He would if he doesn't have those boneheaded giveaways once in a while. The expectation is going to be a lot higher now than when he was making league minimum salary. Our coaching staff somehow fixed Tyler Myers, so I'm hoping they can work their magic with Vinny Desharnais. Yeah, leave it to Foote, Sergei Gonchar, and the like to go out there and fix the turnover rate that Desharnais has. I actually thought he was one of your better defensemen in our series, and he fits what Tocchet and Foote want from a bottom four, so I'm good with it. He's good at his role and is a decent bottom pair defensive D-man. He's huge and that helps with his stick reach, but he lacks foot speed and stamina. He was looking gaslit in games and lost his place to Broberg in the Dallas series and never got another look. Last year, he took a lot of dumb penalties in the playoffs. This year, he cut that out, which was good, but also seemed a bit handcuffed by that fear, and his play was a bit softer overall. So at the end of the day, the Vancouver Canucks are getting themselves a pretty good defenseman option to add on to the rest of their decor. If we go over to dailyfaceoff.com, we take a look at the lines and where everything is going to match up here. Okay, let's go over to the D-pairings. Okay, it's not updated. So Hughes, Hronek, Susie Myers, and then the Canucks signed themselves Vinny Desharnais, who is a right-handed guy, so there you go. He's not Chris Tanev or anything, unfortunately, but he's still good enough. And they also signed themselves Derek Forbort, so that's a pretty good decor with Noah Juleson acting as the reserve. With the top 6 of that, Hughes, Hronek, Susie Myers, and then Desharnais and Forbort as the third pairing, not bad in the slightest. I will say it's a little bit more difficult now to go with that consistent second and third pair equal split like we had in the we. Ooh, I say we. You caught me on that one. I'm not supposed to say we. I'm not part of the team. As the Canucks had in the 2024 playoffs, where you had the Susie Myers and Zadorov-Cole pairings going out there and playing consistent, evenly matched minutes. In fact, I think it was even reversed on the other side. Was it really Susie Myers, Zadorov-Cole, or was it some other pairing? I forgot. But either way, the bottom 4 defensemen in Vancouver split the load very evenly when the Canucks were in the playoffs. Now, with this roster, Susie Myers and then Forbort, Desharnais, I don't think you have the luxury to do that. I think it's probably more preferable to have Susie and Myers playing a tad more minutes than the third pairing. If Forbort and Desharnais can max out at, let's say, 15 minutes a game, I think you're pretty good with that. That's kind of what Desharnais was given towards the end of his days with the Edmonton Oilers, but ultimately, if you can limit the minutes, you can make him a lot more comfortable, you can prevent him from getting gassed as much as he did in Edmonton, and you can do your best to limit those turnovers and giveaways. This could be a really, really solid pickup and a complimentary player to go with Derek Forbort. Of course, the size is remaining a big constant here too. Hughes and Hronek are the only 2 small guys, quote-unquote, on this blue line if you don't want to include Mark Friedman. Susie, huge. Myers, huger. You've got Desharnais, as huge. And then you have yourselves Forbort as well, who is just an absolute human being monster combined into one. So all 4 of the bottom guys are huge, bigger than Ian Cole. I'd say he was the only, not terribly huge guy, but a guy who still played like he was huge when he was here. Nikita Zadorov, of course, was big in himself, so lots of size to go around on the Canucks D. As we had said, man, Patrik Allvin loves Big D, and that is exactly what he's going out there and looking at. Just taking a look at some of the other replies in this comment section thread here, it seems like tall guys except Zadorov always play with the fear of being penalized for everything. Same issue we've had with Myers for years. He was never using his size at his advantage, and he finally played more free in the playoffs and was a lot more efficient for the first time at 34 years old. What's the average height of Vancouver's back end besides Hughes and Hronek? Well, okay, here you go. Myers 6'8", Susie 6'5", Forbort 6'4", Desharnais 6'7", average is 6.6. That is amazing. Canucks fans, I want Zadorov at home. Mother Allvin, we have Zadorov at home. The Zadorov at home is indeed that Vinny Desharnais. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below if you're a Canucks fan. How do you feel about this Vinny Desharnais contract signing? I've been a big fan of Desharnais ever since his terrorizing season from last year, his first full NHL season, or not even really full, he only played 30 games, but he did get a big cup of coffee in this time frame. I had him on my fantasy team this year because, as I had said, Hot Take Hockey made the point production so weird. He had hits and shot blocks valued as highly as goals and assists, so that's why Vinny Desharnais was on my fantasy team to end off the season this year. But either way, he'll be heading over to Vancouver. I like this a lot. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.